They're somewhere, but we're here though today. It's me. What's up?
Yeah, it's not us. We're not the panel of greatness.
Chris, Owen, and Eddie. And there were a couple of rules. Did you get the rules?
No. Rules?
There are rules?
For this.
I mean, maybe it's something else. I mean, I'm sure I have them. I just didn't know they were rules. But I mean,
not the rules, but like what to bring.
Yes.
You
that I
take your
got.
shoes off at the door.
Yeah, well, I missed that
1.
first rule, obviously.
I didn't. Yes, I did not. So this is not one of the guidelines for what we're about to do, but see if you can figure out this song. Because I couldn't, and I was doing it, and I was like, Eddie, I know it's from something. And then he tried to guess, and then I finally got it way later. But just by me doing this noise, Chris. This is what we do for hours.
We do it all the time.
I'm going to do it a little bit more. And then it's impossible to figure out by just that, but I got there. But I'll do it one more time.
I think he's got it.
No, I do not.
You don't? You don't have anything?
No. I swear I don't.
Even with a...
I put a little extra. I did put a little extra in there, yeah.
Because when it first started, he just started with a...
But I also couldn't figure it out either. So it's not like a game where I'm like, let's trick the idiots.
Right.
It's like I also was like, I don't know why the song's in my head, and I didn't have the full song. All I have is...
Do you have an era it's from?
I don't even want to tell you because eventually we got there, but I did not know the era when I was doing it.
Okay,
And you can also say no. What did you think the first one was? Because you started singing.
Build Me Up Buttercup.
So
Dun, 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 dun. That's what I thought it was. Why don't you build me up?
And I'm like, no, but I'm also still confused because I can't place what's in my head.
Man, I'm not going to get it. This is going to be the most boring podcast ever if you keep...
Oh, this isn't even part of it. We're recording, but this isn't even really part of it. Reed, do you know it?
No idea.
And I don't know how it got in my head because it's not like something that's played randomly.
Right.
Mikey?
No, I thought Build Me Up Buttercup too.
Okay.
You did?
Yeah.
Let me give you a little more.
It sounded like that. A little bit of...
You're thinking Mambo number 5?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. But no, that's not it.
Okay. Do.
Nothing there?
Is it pop, country?
It's older than all of us,
Yes,
but
it's
it's
old.
a song. You do the melody. I'll do the ready.
Okay.
Oh, I know the song. I don't know what it's called, but I know the song. Yes.
Yeah.
I hear it
If
in
a
live.
daddy's rich, take her out for a meal. If a daddy's poor, just do what you will. Da ba do ba do. Jiga with a biga do da ba da ma. Da da.
Jam.
We don't. What's it called?
In the Summertime.
By Mungo
Jerry.
No idea why it was in my head, but we were together and I just started doing that. And then this is what we do in our life.
Uh-huh.
One of us would be like, "Gabba-doo-doo." What is that song? We're like, dude, I don't know. That's three notes, man. And so it took me a long time to figure out the song that was even in my head. And that's the game we played. And that has nothing to do with this.
No.
I just wondered if he would.
I was like,
Get
am I
it.
Shazam right
Because
now?
you didn't, yes, because you did, and I didn't get it
No, we did not get it.
for a long time. How you been, Chris?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Are you billing out on purpose after a big Bills win, or do you often wear Buffalo Bills stuff?
I wear this literally every day. Win or loss.
Massive Bills fan?
Massive. Yeah.
Big Amari Cooper get?
Yeah.
Excited about that?
Very excited.
For like $800,000? That's all?
Yeah, we got him for free.
Mostly because the Browns had restructured and given him all that money anyway.
There was a lot of friends I had. They're like, man, you got to go get Devontae Adams. I'm like, he costs like $13 million. Probably not going to happen, but this Amari Cooper guy is cheap. And I was at lunch with a coworker and we found out and I was like, hell yeah.
It's like when you go to the clearance rack, but you find something accidentally that's like really good there.
Oh, yeah.
That for some reason it didn't sell and it's just the right size. And you're like, dang, I'll take that. I think they might have messed up. They're like, no, no, yeah. So here's kind of the rules of the guidelines we set for this, because I really respect Chris's music knowledge and I know Eddie. So we're here.
That's messed
What's up?
I have music knowledge.
No, I know, but I said I respect his music knowledge and I know you.
You don't respect my music
No,
knowledge?
yeah,
Dude, we
yeah.
can figure out songs together.
I had to figure out that song. Okay. So no. And Eddie is a musician and
Love music. Love music.
you don't have to like fight for it now.
But I do
No,
love
no, we don't have
music.
to fight
music
for it. Like
is a big part of my life. man.
obviously everyone knows that.
Do you
so.
know that I wake up with a song in my head every day? Like, that is bizarre. In my head, there is a different song. Not the same song, a different song in my head. And every time I jump in the shower, I'm singing that song. I'm like, how is that even possible that just got in my head randomly? And why is that song in my head?
Okay, the second part I get, but I feel like I always have a song in my head. Do you?
Yes.
Me
always.
too. Eddie's like, can you believe this? I wake up and have to pee.
But
We're like, no, everybody does.
does everyone wake up pee?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. But no, it's just crazy that when I wake up, the first thing in my head is a song. That's just always the case.
I don't think it's that crazy though.
Okay.
I think if your life is around music, I always have a song in my head, I think, or a joke I'm trying to write, one of the two.
Are you always playing music? Like, is there music playing everywhere you go? Like in your car, as soon as you get, is there music?
Like in my head, or
No. Like, do you play music?
I almost never play music in my car.
Oh,
All talk.
interesting.
I hear music all the time. What do you do in your car?
In my car?
Yeah.
Now that's music, but because I listen to music all day
See?
at work, when I get home, it's podcast.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
same with me.
Wow,
It's all
okay.
podcasts. If I'm having a really rough, because we wake up early, I'm having a really rough, like I can't quite get up. I do have my exact same playlist of 3 songs that I play. That's music, but that's a once a week type thing.
You still do the sad songs at night?
I don't do music at all unless no music. I don't do music.
It's crazy too because like we talk all morning long, so I would think you wouldn't want to listen to people talking in the car,
No, but I talk all day.
right?
Like no, I have to talk.
So you want to listen to people
Yes,
talk?
I have to talk, and I have to decide what we're going to talk about, yeah. So I also just want to listen to sports. So I just listen to. You listen to sports talk a lot?
Oh, yeah.
That's mostly all I listen to on podcasts.
I listen to all kinds of YouTube videos from all the shows I missed during the day, podcasts about sports.
Is it sports mostly?
Mostly. Sometimes there'll be like a music podcast, but like mostly sports.
I have one music podcast I listen to. Which one do you listen to?
The one by Troy Cartwright.
What's it called?
I don't know what it's called, but he interviews a lot of songwriters, or he talks to songwriters and a lot of publishers in town about, basically the music industry.
What's his name?
Troy Cartwright used to be on Warner as an artist, and
I got
He's still a
invited.
writer in town.
He's a Nashville guy?
Is it 10 Year Town?
I'm about to do that.
10 Year Town Pod.
I just
Yeah.
got asked to do that podcast.
Oh, cool.
So the question, it was weird because I see the clips on TikTok, and he does a really good job. Like I watch his clips, and a lot of people that he has in, because we've been doing this for so long. How many episodes are we in, Mike? 500?
Almost 500, yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like we've invested a lot of time with a lot of people. And he talks to some of the people that over the years we've talked to, and I like to kind of see how he approaches it. He's a lot more serious.
Yes.
And I like that. I guess because I'm not and I'm serious about it, but my approach isn't always serious. And I make it about me as well, because that's what I feel I know the most about is me.
Well, you are you.
I know. I'm just like, oh yeah, let me tell you this about me. It's good. And so I got a note, and I hope it's okay that I say this, but I can just read it so I don't screw it up. But what do you like about that podcast? Because
I just one thing I love about it is that he gets writers that I know, or he gets publishers that I know. I've seen their name through, people talking and emails, and I see them online. I've never heard them actually talk, and then they're talking about their experience in, doing any kind of thing in the music industry. And either I relate to it, or it's completely different than what I thought it would be, So maybe it's just a surprise that I hear from people, and I like that.
Okay, here we go. This is the message I got. I hope you're doing well. I wanted to reach out as I work with Troy Cartwright, who's what he said, on his 10 Year Town podcast. Troy and I just left a meeting where he mentioned Bobby Bones being one of his dream guests. So, of course, I needed to make that happen. Do you think Bobby would ever be interested in sitting down to discuss his career and thoughts? We've had, yeah. I mean, it was easy. And I said immediately, sure, I watch clips all the time. But they were like, we don't know if it's possible. I'm like, are you kidding me? What was I doing earlier? Playing Madden? Sure.
You do a lot of podcasts? Like, do you get asked to do a lot of podcasts?
Asked, yes. I have a bad fee just through different instances where, because everything is clipped now, it's not as bad as written interviews. I almost never do written interviews anymore because they can make you sound however they want to make you sound, because there is no tone at all in words.
I mean, you talk about losing context. That is it.
All.
Yeah.
So
don't agree to any of those. I'm a journalism major. So for you to do a written kind of interview in 2024, you're out of your mind, in my opinion. So
and I stopped doing those probably 2 or 3 years ago because I had a bad experience where somebody totally, no tone, no context,
and that goes on Twitter, it goes on
highlighted
Instagram
it, and I was like,
Facebook,
this is just not fair or fun. So no to that. And with podcasts, I'll do an occasional one if I'm a fan of it mostly. But again, if they clip it just right, however they want to make you look, they can make you look.
Yeah.
Now it's to the point too where like when I did Idol wasn't so much the case, but Dancing with the Stars, they have mics on you all the time and cameras on you all the time. And after about 3 days, you just forget about it. And I did 4 months of that show, and you just forget there's a camera there because it exists all the time. But I was always aware that they can't put anything in that I didn't do. So they could not put stuff in that I did, or they could alter things that I did, but they could not put something in that I did not do. So anytime that we'd like fight, or I'd take my mic off immediately, turn it off, have hers turn hers off. What are they gonna do? They can't record anything.
Yeah.
And I always feel like too, I have like so many freaking shows that if there's something that I want to say, I want to own I want to have the autonomy of saying what I want to say, when I want to say it, and how I want to say it. And so I'll just say it on my stuff, especially if it's something big. But I do occasional. Like I did Craig Kilborn's, probably the latest one.
Oh, yeah. I remember you talking about that.
I'm a big fan of Craig Kilborn. You're probably too young for Craig Kilborn.
I know who that is. I didn't watch his show.
So he was
Craig
on SportsCenter back in the day.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
right.
was like the guy who went from SportsCenter to do something that wasn't sports. He did The Daily Show right before Jon Stewart. And that was wild because one of the SportsCenter anchors was doing The Daily Show. It's funny. And then he did a late night talk show on CBS.
Yeah, that's the one I knew him. Yeah.
And I thought it was super cool. And so him and I have become friendly. But yes, I probably get a few asks a week. But also it's not even like massive podcasts. It's like some are like, hey, we're thinking about starting a podcast. Would you do it? And I'm like, you're thinking about it. Would I do it? How can I do what you're thinking about? Does it depend on me doing it? If you ever. So some are cool, some aren't. But yeah, I'll do it one a month,
Yeah.
possibly. But anyway, we're all here, and so I thought we would go around and mostly do like a discussion, like a round table. Except there's only 3 of us, so it's like half a round table.
It's like a half moon.
It's like a moon.
Yeah.
It's a moon table. We
Crescent.
do not know what the other 2 people have brought in. I've made a ton of notes.
Ton of notes.
Well, yeah, because I don't know what I was going to ask. I didn't know what.
Okay.
I didn't know if Chris is bringing in the hard hitting stuff. Like, okay, you guys, what's your thoughts on racism and sexism? And
Ooh.
and we're like, wait, what? And what do you also think about who you voting for? What?
Yeah, Chris,
You know, so it's all that.
I don't want to do that.
I do
here.
not
I want to
have
do it in an
that
article.
written
Okay,
down
good.
here, just
We
like,
didn't know,
yeah.
so just in case I had my question similar. Eddie, why don't you go first?
Okay.
Because I have no idea where you're coming from.
Yeah, I don't either.
Okay.
Honestly, I mean, when
By the way, my thoughts on racism, bad. Sexism, bad. Who am I voting for? I'm going to early vote.
oh, you are? Oh, good for you.
I'm an undecided voter.
So that was a topic.
No, but nobody's an undecided voter. Nobody's an undecided voter. They're all liars. Okay, Eddie, I'm ready.
Okay, I wanted to ask Chris, what do you know about Milli Vanilli?
Why just Chris?
Because I want to start with Chris. Because I was on TikTok,
rude.
and Milli Vanilli is making a comeback, which is
They
awesome.
They can't make it happen.
Though they are. I
No,
think
one's dead.
Well, the guy that's alive is like, he's singing
So
live.
Millie's making a comeback.
I don't know if it's Milli or Vanilli.
Ask him a question.
So
It's 2, right?
they were 2 dudes.
Okay, just making
But what do you know about them? Like, do you
I mean, I think I'd made it pretty clear what I know. I'm like, it's 2, right?
2 guys.
He's like, you're talking about the wafer, right? No.
I mean, I've heard of Milli Vanilli. Am I going in depth on their music?
You
No.
know, what do you know about this?
There we
This is
go.
a good question. When we say that, what sticks out to you?
Is it hip hop?
Okay,
Oh, interesting.
way too
Rock?
young. Way too young. And when we tell you this, you're gonna go, holy crap, that's crazy.
Well, to tell them the
No,
whole
it's-
story.
This is yours. This is yours.
Okay. I mean, Milli Vanilli they were a pop duo.
Okay, pop.
Huge. They had huge number ones.
Really good looking guys too.
Yeah. Really.
Like two like muscular. If I got to pick and they were like, you're not a nerdy white guy anymore, I would look like the guys from Milli Vanilli. They were like black dudes ripped up with like
You would
cool
look-
dreads.
okay.
That's what I'd pick. Yeah, if I got that.
They were really
It's-
good looking dudes.
Yeah, I was just super.
And they
jealous.
would dance and they would sing and it was a thing. They were awesome. Then
You want to sing the songs if he knows them?
yeah. I think the biggest one was
Blame it on the
rain when the stars fall. Yeah, blame it on the stars when they shine at night. Don't
But
put
whatever
you do,
don't put
the blame on you. Blame it on the rain.
Yeah. Ever heard that?
yeah, I have. I had no idea they were the ones that did that.
That's
but-
Milli Vanilli.
The other one would be like, baby,
Don't
don't
forget my number.
that one.
And then, girl,
I
you
think
know
I do.
it's true. Good girl.
Ooh, 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 I love you. That one?
Yeah. I had no idea that Milli Vanilli.
But
did this.
do you recognize
I've heard
those?
those. Yeah,
We're singing
I've heard them in like
exactly.
movies.
No, we're singing
Identical.
them exactly how they sing on perfect pitch, everything. All right.
So they were at top of the world, leading the charts, killing it. Then they do. Is it okay? We talked about this. Is it an award show? What was it? Or a regular show?
It was not an award show, but it was like a party pre-award show. Mike, you can fact check me. It was like
Pre like MTV music or movie or something like that.
Yeah, but it was not an award show.
Right.
Oh, I think I know where this is going.
And they're performing.
Oh no.
I think it's "Girl, You Know It's True." One of the two. They're
It is,
I
'cause
think it's "Girl, You Know It's True."
Girl, you
No,
know
it's
it's true.
"Girl, You Know It's
Yeah.
Girl, You Know It's," and the CD starts skipping.
Oh, it's Ashley
and
Simpson.
they were. It was way before Ashley Simpson, but yeah, and they're like, and they just run off the stage, and that was the
They
first.
ran
time.
off.
Oh, they
Yeah.
they didn't know what to do.
They got no one. There weren't even like backing tracks that existed at this time, right? Because there's not computers.
Yeah.
So they were literally lip syncing to a CD.
I mean, you are live, and if that, yeah.
And they were completely exposed. So it was just like, okay, so these guys are lip syncing. Okay, so was this a one-time deal? They look into it. No. They weren't even the guys recording the albums. They were not the voices on the songs.
Reed, you didn't know this? No. I heard Reed gasp from behind the camera.
There was a whole, like the writers did everything. They wrote the songs. They recorded their voices. It was all them, but Milli Vanilli were the faces.
Won a Grammy.
They're the ones that made the money and got the fame. off.
Money,
I
I
don't
don't know,
know.
but fame and Grammy, yes. So big controversy. They had to give the Grammy back. They did a press conference.
They gave the Grammy back. They people were like burning their albums.
Oh, it was a massive scandal back then.
huge.
They tried to prove they could still sing though, and so even at the press conference, they're sitting at a table like when a coach does a press conference, and they're sitting there and they still have the Grammy sitting in front of them, and they're like, why did you do this? They're like, no, we just really can't sing. And they were saying like, girl, you know it's true. It just wasn't them.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
In any way whatsoever, it wasn't them.
Career done, like over in that instance quickly. And then I think one of them ended up committing suicide, and then there's just only one left. But I've seen him on TikTok playing shows recently, and people just using Milli Vanilli songs now for like videos. So like, I think it's pretty awesome. They're making it.
Yeah.
They
music's coming.
aren't.
I mean,
Stop saying
well,
they.
the band as an entity.
No, just he.
Oh, he still calls himself
It's
Milli
still
Vanilli?
Milli
Okay.
Vanilli.
But there's no they.
So what is he just call it
He.
Milli?
No, it's
Or
just
Vanilli. Or,
he.
yeah.
I don't know who's
Vanilli.
who.
Even if it's Milli Vanilli, it's a he. Like, Five for Fighting. That's a he.
Okay. Oh, I like this.
He grabs people around him and makes a band, but that's a he.
Okay.
You know, a hybrid would be Panic at the Disco because there are actual band members, but that's really built around one.
He's
person.
Panic.
That's a tough one though.
Foo Fighters.
No, early Foo Fighters is he, but then once he hired the other band members because
Dashboard
they stayed with
Confessional.
him.
Dashboard.
Dashboard's
That's a
he.
good one.
Dashboard's he. Yeah, I think Milli Vanilli's not he.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Well,
Yeah.
well, the music's making a comeback.
But what was your point?
My question was,
I'm entertained. I just wonder what the point was.
I guess my point is that people are starting to play Milli Vanilli now. You know the song, probably not from back then, but from now.
Yeah, from secondary listening, pretty much.
Yeah. So I just wanted to know with Chris, like, if he knew the whole story. That was kind of my whole thing.
I knew where it was going. Once you started saying a word show, I was like, oh no.
Because I bet people listen to Milli Vanilli right now, or the songs, listen to them right now, don't know that story.
Did that make him more famous though?
I would say it was not one of the instances where infamy made it more famous.
Okay. They were already famous.
They were massively famous, but then they were frauds, and there wasn't the culture of social media or reality shows to capitalize off that.
Yes.
They just hid, and then one guy killed himself.
Yeah. Very
so
sad.
it was, if it happened now, different story.
Oh, you would
They'd
be.
find a way to make
You'd be an
money.
internet sensation. Yeah.
But it is, you're right, Ashley Simpson. It's that before that.
Did that kill her career?
As a singer, artist, yeah.
I think at radio
ne-
it sure did. Yeah.
They never took her seriously.
No.
Because she was always the girl. She went to like a hoedown dance.
I think she had like she was sick was the story, and so they convinced her to do the lip syncing or something, and the drummer just kept playing the same track or
I've
or
heard,
play the same track again, and they just kept going with it.
I've heard that. I just don't believe anything. So that possibly could be the real answer, or it could just be there was a mess up. But the thing now, if that happened, so many artists now just sing along with their singing.
And they don't try to hide it. You can hear
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's obvious, and it's They don't hide it at all.
No,
No,
it's not
yeah.
even a thing.
Yeah, so they're not ashamed of it. It's just their singing is up, and then they're just also singing with it.
Yeah, they're singing with it. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
with their own full vocal.
Yeah,
If Millie could just do that back in the day.
I know, man. But somebody had to fall hard for people to realize it's okay. Even the Super Bowl, like Super Bowl is all lip synced.
Yeah, but
Yes.
that's hard to pull off because of tech issues
Yeah.
more than anything else.
But was Ashley Simpson, did she always lip sync?
I have no idea.
I don't think so. Do you, Mike?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think she probably wasn't an A+ singer, and they probably helped her in a lot of ways. And studio tricks when you didn't have all the digital studio tricks that we have now, obviously. But she was Jessica's younger sister. That helped. But I think she could sing.
Yeah.
I met her. We did a radio show with her. I don't remember thinking she couldn't sing.
Was she nice?
Pop is a different world. So I don't know the answer to that. When I was in pop, or just I would just compare LA to Nashville in these same ways. In that when I go to California, or when I first started going to California way back in the day, I started to notice that it didn't matter what your status was. And that place is so status-based. Nashville is too in a way. But it's so status-based that if you didn't have status, you had to fake like you had status. And if you went to a meeting, you showed up with 4, 5, 6, 7 people. You had agents and you had assistants. Like, you were to be there with all of your success.
Your entourage.
People included. But that was how everyone represented themselves. So even if they didn't, they faked it until hopefully they can make it, or they just didn't. So I didn't know that. So when I first started going to California, I was just flying back and forth, begging for mercenary jobs, interviewing Maria Menounos' dog on the red carpet. It was I was willing to do anything. And so and then once my career in television started to actually have some real substance behind it, I still didn't because I didn't have LA people to tell me how to act LA.
Yeah.
So I would go to these, now it was bigger meetings. I would go to meet with the president of CBS. I'd go meet with executives at ABC. But I would literally Uber, and I would just show up with a backpack and just walk in. And the first couple times, I remember them asking, are you waiting on the rest of your team? No.
Just me and my backpack.
Yeah, where's your entourage at?
There's no, but I wasn't doing it strategically and going, I'll show them if they're zigging, I'm going to zag. That was never the idea. It was just, I was going to a meeting, and so I just got in an Uber and drove over and waited and went in. But what I found out later was they found that so different and refreshing that it actually helped, if not get jobs, it helped make great relationships that later got me jobs.
Oh, interesting. I was gonna say me and Mike and Reed could have been your dudes,
Oh, God dang.
but you're right. You're right. It's probably better off that way.
And I remember somebody I ended up getting to know in LA who ended up working as part of my agency team later. He was like, hey, we can go to this meeting with you. He said, but the people we talk to, that they just say you come in by yourself and they like that. And I'm like, is that not normal? And they're like, no, it's not normal. People like to show up and act like they have representation, like they matter. And the little story about you has been you just show up. And I thought, I didn't even know. It wasn't on purpose.
So the more people that show up to a meeting in LA, they're deemed more successful.
Yes,
or
because
have more
it's
things
your
going on.
agent, it's your manager,
Publicist.
it's your publicist. People, since you're so important, you need all this team to make sure that
Yeah, you
everything's
can't all do it
happening
yourself,
right.
obviously.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I could. I just, again, I showed up.
So I would assume that the artist or whoever or the star just sits there and does nothing if all those people
very
are there,
little.
right?
Yeah, very little. You're supposed to, but it's the opposite of Nashville culture. In Nashville, if you do have 19 people, and I will give an example of somebody, and he won't care because I know him very well and I love him very well. But Luke Bryan has a massive team because he has to. He's doing television. He's touring massively. He has songs and he has agents, manager, the whole shebang.
Yeah.
On many levels. He just shows up by himself to the studio. But that's the Nashville culture where even if you have all these people, leave a lot of them behind because they will think differently about you.
Yes.
If you show up with 18 people. Where in LA, they would think differently about you if you showed up by yourself. They think you're a loser.
Oh, yeah, it's the opposite.
It's exactly the
Yeah.
opposite. And I was just doing there what I do here and got very fortunate that people thought that was cool and refreshing. And I'm like, cool and refreshing. I literally,
I'd like to have people.
I don't
Dude, you
know
don't-
anybody else. Can you like tell me where a friend is? Anybody. But the Ashley Simpson thing was a big scandal. And I think she got a reality show after that. So it was getting
she
to that.
did, yeah.
It was getting to that point where you could capitalize, but her music career was
Yeah.
over.
I liked her songs.
That's fun though. Yeah, Pieces to me
The
was
pieces,
awesome.
Yeah.
Pieces.
It's a huge hit.
pieces.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me go to my first question.
All right, man.
How serious do we want to go? Because I got a lot of them.
It
It's up
doesn't
to
matter.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's up to you.
I love the surprise.
Okay. I'm going to do an easy one. Chris, I'll go to you first.
Okay.
It doesn't matter the song or the artist, but you're going to have in your mind songs and artists that people say this about a lot. But when someone says, man, that's not country. What is your general thought about that saying?
That it's not country.
Yeah, when someone just hears something. I'll give an example because, again, I'll use people I love and that it won't get mad at me. Dan and Shay. Somebody hears it and goes, that's not country. I like country how it used to be. Real country, they'll say. That saying, that's not country. How does that resonate with you?
I feel like it's so overused now. I don't know what to believe anymore when somebody says that's not country. You know what I mean? Like 20 years ago, you would say that's not country to whoever, and you're thinking about the Waylon Jennings era or the Willie Nelson or whoever. Now I think everybody says that, especially with social media. This isn't country, that's not country. Basically, nothing is country anymore in Nashville. So it just kind of goes in one ear out the other for me, like when anybody says that.
There are guys that represent traditional country of the 90s, because traditional country is not even traditional country, right? Traditional country is traditional to the age of the person
Yes.
that says that's not country. For example, like a Zach Top, who we've had here, and I love Zach, although he's like 12 and he acts like he's like 50 and he's so good, he plays the guitar like he's been playing 100 years, right? It's an odd, because he grew up bluegrass. And you'll see, and I like Zach a lot, and he's very much traditional, my age, our age, country. And you'll be like, that's real country music. But that's not country thing to me. When someone says that anything is not country ever, I automatically think less of them as any sort of country music scholar or any sort of person that claims they know country music at all. Because if they really knew country music, you can go back. Because the only thing that really would be country, if you were to boil it all down, would be the music coming over from the slave ships in Africa and the music coming from Europe. The fiddles in Europe and the banjos on the slave ships. The combination of that and where the music landed is then what turned into hillbilly music, is then what turned... Like, if you're going to go, what's really country, if we got to keep going back every generation, like that's where country music started.
Everything technically came from somewhere.
Yeah, sure. And when people go, well, that ain't country, and they're talking about a Dan and Shay, a Jelly Roll, a whomever, and you go, well, what is? Well, chestnut. Well, okay, I hear you. And if you had the patience or the understanding to listen to me explain to you that the chestnuts, the Garths, you could go through any of the 90s country artists that were told, wow, that's not country, that now are the standard for what is country. Or if you were to go even to like Bob Wills and the Texas Playboys, the first time they amped up a steel guitar, people flipped their crap.
Yeah.
'Cause that's not country. They flip their crap the same way that they do when Jelly Roll does a song. Obviously, there's no social media. But Johnny Cash, right? They were protesting him because he's not country, he's rock and roll.
People thought Shania and Garth weren't country.
Every
Correct.
single generation, that's not country. The only thing that's consistent about country music is it's not country.
Yeah.
And so when anybody is like, that's not even country, I think to myself, okay, what you're saying is that's not traditional country to you based on the era that either you grew up in or that you listened to because your parents made you listen to it.
Right.
And I often automatically go, well, and you're also a moron. Not maybe in life
You
and
can
every
leave that part out.
well, not in
but-
life and every other space. They could be an astrophysicist. But when someone declares that's not country based on the criteria, they have no idea what country is, because the one thing about country has always been an evolution. And I was talking about this recently with somebody else. the last 15 years or so, a big reason there's been a shift in country music too is them deciding, maybe 25 years, is them deciding to market to a younger audience, right? Country music used to be music for adults about not being able to pay the rent, the mortgage, the insert adult problems.
Yeah.
But there's only so much money if you're just marketing to adults. If you market younger, older people always buy their stuff and the stuff a little younger than them. So when country music started to be marketed to younger audiences, of course, a bit it's going to shift. But anyone that ever says that's not country, I think musically, you're an idiot. Because you're right, that's not country based on what you think. But you could say that to every single massive country artist that now is celebrated for being country. They were once told that. Now, are there people that come in and try to be, and it never actually catches on as that, because I do believe that the consumer inevitably picks what is and what isn't.
Mhm.
Like Machine Gun Kelly is not country. He's not, because I feel like he's not even trying to really be. I feel like a guy like that's like, oh, that looks fun. It's the most popular format now. I'll just go record a couple songs, hopefully make some money.
Yeah. And there's been a lot of examples of that in
Yeah.
the past. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think and again, I'm not right. And there's no right and wrong in art. So I'm not right. But I always feel, especially if I'm going to play or talk or promote or even if an artist fails in their respective format and they use this as a fallback, I never believe they truly wanted to do this. So I'm really not going to believe in their, I love country.
Yeah.
So that to me is one. If an artist has a history of playing in the playground a little bit, like Post Malone, who for years and years and years would do freaking Brad Paisley stuff, and it was always kind of weird because he was a rapper, right, Mike?
Yeah.
I mean, to me, he was a rapper. He's changed who he's been a few times, but it was always kind of cool to Post Malone the rapper, like country music a little bit.
Yeah, his cover of Mud on the Tires was a thing
Yeah.
long before.
And he
did
would
his
say,
album.
I like country music. So when he came, it wasn't that weird, but he also embraced like living here. And he really embraced the people here.
That's a big thing too. Is that
Absolutely.
people respect Post because he came here, he invested time in the songwriters who are right here, and all the musicians
And just
who
the people
play on records.
Like
here.
he played our charity show. He just showed up and played it. He didn't have to do that, but he was like, I'm establishing that I care about this. My point is, he didn't have to come to country. He wanted to. He wasn't like on a downhill and he's like, I'm just going to grab for country for something. And all respect to these people like that, like Cyndi Lauper tried to do a country album. Like Bret Michaels tried to do a country album. Whenever it's like a last straw, that's when I'm kind of like, Or if it's just a money chase, which I feel like, and I think Machine Gun Kelly is super talented. And I probably liked his rock stuff more than his hip hop stuff. But maybe because Eminem killed him, Mike, I just felt different about it.
Yeah, he kind of got ran out of hip hop.
I know. But like,
He's homeless. Come on, let him
Man,
in.
somebody take me in.
yeah. But I do like Machine Gun Kelly. But that to me, regardless of what he ever does, that's just never going to be country. And if it is, it's going to be so forced.
But like, who decides what is country?
That's
Like
the consumers.
It's
That's it.
just but yeah, not even the consumer though. It's just radio. Like if it's not on radio, then people don't even try to classify. Like Jason Isbell, is he country? No. Is
Well, that's
Sturgill
not true because they completely put things in playlists and genres.
Okay, I guess
Or you
playlist-
just label it country. And,
The
like
label.
what happened, with Old Town Road. That was labeled country.
Yeah, I mean,
Debut #1.
Because really anything can be country. You listen to certain songs, like I think it's more about the lyrics than it is about the music. I think it's cool, the evolution of country music, going from traditional steel, fiddle, all that to like Sam Hunt, adding a trap beat,
Yeah.
to something. Like it's cool. The evolution is cool, but what stays consistent is the simple songwriting. Like even when you go into like a songwriting session, it's always like, all right, here are the 3 chords we're working with. Let's write around it.
I've never been in one that said we have 3 chords right around it.
Well, because they're not like, hey, why don't we start with like this cool sound and why don't we do that cool sound? All the sounds in country music come so much later than the creation of the song.
That was the idea.
I don't
come
know.
up with the idea.
I've written with a bunch of track guys though, so I would push back on that a little bit.
They start with the track. I mean, but it's not the sound of the song. I think once kind of the song is taken shape, then it's like, how do we make this sound cool?
I would just push back on the track part though, because
But no one's wrong.
I've written with Ross a bunch of times, Ross Copperman, and we'll go and he'll be like, okay, we're starting with this. You like, let me try with this. Let me put a middle melody. And you really, it's all just that sound first. But most, it just, but you're right.
But then where do the lyrics come in? Like,
people
Well, sometimes you write around a track.
People write different. People write different. Most, and again, I've been very lucky. I did a secret project once that we ended up having to bail on, but it was me, Nicole Gallion, and Ross Copperman, and we created this fake group, and we wrote, and it still exists. There's like 4 or 5 songs up. It's called Neon People, and we were gonna try to keep it secret. Then Nicole Gallion got a job as president of the freaking record label, and she had to leave the group before we got to officially launch it. So I got super lucky to write with them a lot, and we pulled in other really good writers too. So I got to watch 100 number ones, not be written, but people who did so I got to watch people write concept based, which is super cool, which is kind of how I would write comedy anyway. But I got to watch them write melody based, which means all they do is come in and they're like, okay, I got this. And then it's like, I was walking down. No. We walked down together by the tree. Then you find the words. And then I got to watch track.
Yeah.
It's 3 different versions of writing the freaking song. Where Ross would come in and be like, all right, let's listen to these 5 tracks I came in with today. Like you'd come in with a concept idea or you come in with a melody. He'd be like, what about this one?
Well, there was one of us. So there was a song that was written maybe 2 or 3 months ago by 2 of our writers with a track guy.
Explain what you
producer.
do. Explain what you do.
So I work at Cornman Music, which is a music publisher. And basically we have writers and we book their calendar. They write songs, sometimes with artists, sometimes just with other writers. And we try to get the songs cut and hopefully they become hits and we make money and everybody's happy. Is like the very quick and simple way to put how I do my job. But yeah.
Okay. So I just want everybody to know that. So go ahead and keep going with that.
So we had 2 writers write with a producer and they were maybe an hour and a half into the song. And this producer had this really cool track and they're trying to basically force feed this idea, this melody to this track, and it just wasn't working. So the producer was like, look, I could just find a new one, guys, and we can just keep this idea going. And they're like, no, this track is great. We're just going to scrap what we did and write around your track and come up with a whole new idea.
Like every lyric, every part of the concept. It was like the track is so strong.
Yep.
I agree with what you're saying generally, but I think since it's been marketed to younger audiences and the people have just been younger, right? There's technology. Technology is, I don't think tracks, and there was a real bad stigma about me called a track guy for a while. I don't think that exists as much anymore as it used to be.
We just say producer.
Yeah. Yes. And now you need a really good, now it's like, should we get a track guy? Now it's like, we need a really good one.
Yes.
I think that some sort of message, right, in country music. I don't think every song is country. I don't think every song can be country music though.
Like every song in country music?
No, I don't think just any song can be country.
No. I just mean I remember we talked a while back when John Mayer had his Paradise Valley album. You listen to that album, this could be a country album. Bobby said that a long time ago, and it's right.
Yeah, Ed Sheeran could.
Ed Sheeran could have.
You just go one way a little bit.
Slightly sonic, make it slightly 18% sonically different.
Yeah.
Nobody says a thing about it.
Yep. 100%.
The question. I forgot. I put my phone down. What was my question?
How
do you feel about people that say that that's not country?
I just don't take any stock into it, and I never really have. If you grew up, let's say you got into country 2013 or whatever, when the bro movement started, and you grew up in Florida Georgia Line and Luke Bryan and Thomas Rhett and all these artists, that to you is country. That is country. And it's like, you can't tell that person they're wrong, that's not country. What's not country about Florida Georgia Line? It's twangy. It talks about subjects that's very relatable to the average country listener, whether it's streaming or radio. So, you can go about, well, it's got a beat, it's got this snap track behind it or whatever the case is, but that just becomes normal to the point where it is country now. And it doesn't have to be put into this box anymore. Yeah. Do I think that Sabrina Carpenter is country? No, she's not.
I think she has one song on it. If you listen to the record.
Yeah.
I've got that song on my head. I know every song on that record. Not sadly, because they're really good.
Surprisingly,
songs. It is a really.
He
great,
just sold out Bridgestone last night. Yeah,
it's a really great record. A little too much cursing for me.
Really,
you wouldn't expect it. It just pops out of nowhere.
It's not even there's curse words because I don't mind cursing. Curse words in the middle of the chorus.
Oh,
They hit me kind of weird. I'm just like, whoa, that F word was
you're
right
right,
in the middle
you're
of the chorus. Let me get the tracks up. Because there's one song that if you didn't say it was Sabrina Carpenter and you just played it for somebody, they would be like, oh, that is a massive country hit. It is going to be...
Is it Slim Pickens?
It's Slim Pickens. Slim Pickens, feel like the way I... I'll play you a little bit of it from my phone. Yeah, Slim Pickens. And it's a freaking jam in that... Sonically already.
Yeah.
That could be any... See, I mean, that
Could be country.
Yeah.
is. If you just took her name off of it, same person, and you're like, no, this is Sabrina Joe Carpenter.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, but you didn't play the rest of the music around it. People would be like, oh, yeah, for sure. But then when she has, I mean, like, please, 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 freaking jam. But, yeah. Okay. Next, Chris, go.
Going off the topic of what is or what isn't country, one thing I've noticed about, and I've been going through TikTok a lot lately, just because it's 11 p.m. I can't sleep. I can't help myself. I grab it and I pull it out. A lot of 90s country stuff comes up through the TikTok feed, stuff that isn't technically 90s country, but asking around with writers and family and friends, basically anything from like 1986 to 2007 is 90s country.
That's funny that it
wow.
would go up that high. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. The late 80s stuff for sure. Like a lot of the Randy Travis stuff gets put into that. And some of the George Strait from the late 80s. gets
Most
put
of the
into that.
Shenandoah hits, are from the 80s.
Wow, didn't realize that.
Yeah, 2 Dozen
That's a
Roses, that's 80s.
Great
Yeah.
point. Because I definitely would have considered that 90s, where I guess it's the music that was wildly popular in that era. Since most of it was the 90s, it's just all considered 90s.
And you
All
even
of it
think like
is.
some of Tim McGraw's or like some of his early 2000s feels like 90s, but
It
it was
does.
already 2000. Faith Hill, like a
Yes.
lot of 2000 songs.
People think that Jessica Andrews and Who I Am is a 90s country song.
Yeah.
That's 2001. That's, I mean, it's close. It's not 90s, though. There's some people that think 2004 songs are country or 90s country. Like Live Like You Were Dying, somebody once referenced on TikTok as a 90s country song. I'm like, you're 5 years off. That's like not even close. But
Yeah, so I guess it's just people that hear old, good, semi-contemporary country music. If it's good and semi-contemporary, it must be 90s.
it must be 90s country.
It's
Yeah.
funny that is all classified that. But I do feel like a lot of the 80s, even some of the late 80s, like Garth, the early Garth stuff. Didn't he do
89.
89, yeah. Class
Yeah.
of 89, yeah.
Like that
The Dance,
feels
89.
90s because it was just really popular in that era when it popped, which just so happened to be the 90s.
Yes. Most people, too, don't think of 2000s country in the same way as 90s country.
Well, I agree, except I'm married to someone that is 12 years younger than me. And I felt the same way. I always said like 2000s sucked. 2010, up to like 2014. I was like, man, just not a good era. And she's like, are you kidding? Easton Corbin? Are you kidding? And she starts listing off Joe and Joe Nichols. She's like, if I did a new Highwayman, I'm not kidding. That's what she said. She had to be Easton, Joe Nichols, Craig Morgan, and I forget who the other one was.
Heck yeah.
But that's
Redneck Yacht Club.
her jam. That era is like her country.
Would it have been
that's-
the guy that played your rehearsal dinner?
It was
Josh Grayson?
Josh Grayson.
Josh Grayson.
Grayson.
That would be her because she was a 2010, and that could have been 2008 to 2000.
I mean, that's the era I grew up on.
It's her. Some of the Tim McGraw stuff that I don't even know is her favorite Tim McGraw stuff because it happened after the early and before he kind of
Had this like reinvention.
because he never retired, but like hit hard again. But I agree. I always thought that I was like, that's the worst generation. But because she was right in it and she's from Oklahoma, she was like, no, this is my favorite. So I agree. The only person I've ever heard that from is my wife, though.
It gets overshadowed because 90s country is this very prestigious thing to a lot of people, even people that didn't grow up in the 90s. And then obviously anything post Florida Georgia Line breaking out is its own entity as well. So you have that 2000 to 2010 kind of era that's kind of lost in the shuffle there. But still, there's a lot of songs that are played on the radio that were from that time period.
I used to think, too, it was just the age of the people that got to make the decisions. Meaning
It's funny.
the people us, executives, people that are playing, like putting songs in movies. The 90s, because that was their thing.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think that as much anymore. The 90s, it was so commercially massive. Like
See, I always wondered that, like, because we lived it.
Or technology maybe took such advanced steps that might have been a part
well,
of it
no, but
too.
it popped so hard. Like the concerts. I mean,
It was huge.
Yes.
90s country was huge. And,
Huge.
but I
crossed
didn't know.
over into mainstream so much that people that didn't know country music started. It was like the 70s whenever like disco and then even like the disco cowboy type stuff where people in New York City would start wearing cowboy hats.
Yeah.
Like it got that big. Or did that again in the 90s.
I don't remember that.
They did a halftime show at the Super Bowl. Like there was a 90s country.
Yeah. There's a
halftime
bunch
show,
of
which
bunch of
would
artists.
be pretty. I mean, you would never think that would happen nowadays. That they would pick a country
Maybe right now I would for the first time, but never up until right now.
with Morgan and
More, I think we have 3 football stadium acts right now that are under 40. Morgan, Luke. Zach Bryan.
Yeah.
He says he's not a country artist, but that just makes him more of a country artist.
they stream so much more than anybody else in
Everybody.
the format.
Yeah. So, but I agree. There's no country artist. Shania did it, but she also was a pop artist.
Yes.
So, yeah, that's. But I stand by 2010s. Bad era.
I'm with you.
Yeah, bad era.
I don't know any of that
Yeah.
stuff.
Eddie, I do, and it's actually pretty good when my wife plays it. She's like, "What about this one?" And I'm like, "Barker one." I'm like, "Yeah, it's a
She's
good
a big
one.
old
That's a good one." Yeah. All right, go ahead, Eddie.
So when you listen to music, question for both of you guys, are you a melody person or are you a lyric person? Like, what do you listen to first?
I mean, I'm a melody person. I just think it's what grabs the average listener, you know? So when our writers turn in songs, that's really the first thing I'm looking for is the melody. Lyrics obviously have to make some sort of sense, and I have to like that as well. But, I mean, if you got a great melody, and I mean a great melody, like Cruise is an all-time melody. If you get that right, you're to the 5-yard line. You just got to take it into the end zone.
Could you have made that song? Don't hit on the alarm, make me want to snooze.
Yeah.
Same melody.
Yeah, with any lyric.
And also, because it's a very strong melody.
Yes.
As long as it's not absurd.
As long as it's not absurd,
probably
yes.
still a hit.
Yeah. Like, if you got the great melody, you're driving the Corvette, just don't drive it off the road into the ditch, But yeah, I look for melody first. I think 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, I would have said lyric, but I think now it's melody. Just give me
now
a
that
great
you've
melody.
grown up to the ripe old age of like, what are you, 15 now?
35.
You're
Yeah.
young as crap. Doesn't he look
Wow.
young as crap?
He does.
So
He does.
annoying.
So you're thinking like, Mama.
I'm thinking like I'm like a kid through the darndest things with him. Looks like he just like, he got that young face. What? Say again, Eddie?
No, I was trying to think of like, yeah, you could put anything in Cruise.
I mean, you could.
Not anything, but yes.
Mama,
You
I have a
theoretically
girl.
could put anything
I
in
really
Cruise.
love her.
But then I woke up and I was wrong.
You're just
drinking
singing
that
about the
booze.
dentist or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me guess.
I don't know lyrics.
Right. You're a
I
melody
love
guy.
slow. I think part of the reason I love slow songs is because I can actually hear the lyrics, and I can learn them a little bit. But I don't know lyrics. We were trying to sing. I don't know.
I think every time you and I try to sing any song, whether it's a song we just heard or whatever, it's
Yeah, I don't know any lyrics. My wife has a weird brain where she knows every lyric to every song after one listen. She can spell words forward to backward in her head. She memorizes but it's not like something that she desired to do. So she's not like, look at this. She's actually kind of embarrassed about it because we'll get somewhere and I'll be like, hey, somebody just say a word. It doesn't matter what the word is. Okay. Peacock. And I'll be like, do it, Kayla. And she'll go Peackkkcocceap. She can do it all words.
It's crazy.
That's amazing.
It's annoying and awesome because if we get into a fight, I know she remembers. And that sucks because most likely be like, you didn't say that. I didn't say that. I know that she remembers. And so now though, my argument back to her is, you know that I know that you remember. And so you can say anything even if you're wrong. So you're probably not telling the truth. I got to double back. You know what I mean?
That's your technique.
Yeah, that's like, or I just stop talking. I'm just like, you know what? I'm so mad. I'm not even gonna talk anymore.
Oh, with a silent.
Yeah, but just because I know she photographic memory. It's wild. It really is wild. It's like a special something that she was born with. Okay, let's see what I got here. Next up, man, I got so many here.
Man, I feel the pressure, too, to come up with something good every time it comes back around to me.
I know. I'm starting to. As soon as I'm done, I'm starting to think of the next one.
Okay, I wrote like 9. Just kind of vibe.
No, it's
the
good.
Vibe I was
That's
in.
your style to overdo it too.
Chris. without saying any names, because I don't want you to say names or to feel pressure to say names, nor am I going to say names. Do you believe there are any artists who are only having success because they are being strategically pushed, and that if they were not being pushed by powerful entities, they would not be successful at all?
Yeah.
Me
I
too.
mean, I think it goes for any format of music. Yeah. You know?
Pop especially, but there's usually a reason with pop, meaning they got a Disney following, they're really pretty, they do a really good look. There's something about it. In this format, do you feel like there's anyone in your mind that you go, they're actually not that good, and it's rare in this format because you have to be good in this format? But
Everybody has talent to a degree in this format. I
Okay,
think it's
but
very hard to succeed in this.
are there any in very low degrees that you can think of where you're like, this is much lower degree, and they've reached a level of success where they probably wouldn't have without?
I mean,
Chris, can you think of one?
obviously not going to say names, but I mean, I can probably get there. Yeah. You know?
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
I wouldn't
I've
want-
thought of
Well, the
that.
thing about it, too,
I wouldn't want you to say names.
is that there are so many artists now in music, not just country, any format, because of TikTok and social media and streaming. I mean, you grab your guitar, you turn on your phone, you're an artist.
Let me back it up. Okay, that's an absolutely great point, and I want to make sure that that is not allowed in this question because that is a perfect point I didn't think about. Anyone with multiple hits?
Multiple hits. Streaming, radio, does it?
We'll say radio.
Okay.
Because streaming's weird because to make a stream a ton, I don't know who they are.
I'm going to actually say like a soft no. And the reason being is that, you know, going back on country radio is a very, whether it should be this way or not, it's a very people-oriented thing where if certain programmers don't believe you're invested into the format and they don't personally believe you're good or you're not a good person, you're going to have a harder time getting airplay at country radio. It's not that way for other formats, but it is in country, or at least it was when I was in radio.
Yeah, you're a big.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, you're a big Diddy guy.
Oh, gosh.
No, I'm just-
Oh, my goodness.
I'm kidding. He's not. I'm kidding. It's just like the worst thing you can say.
He just
when it's
turned
like-
red. Look at it.
We edit that.
Yeah. I can think of someone that is not good.
One or more than
One
one.
specifically that's not. I would say if they lived in Tulsa, because they're not from Tulsa, they'd be locally. They'd be like really good, but here, just
Everybody's the best in their hometown.
yeah, but here not that good, and had a big career. I think had the right push, and had it happened with anybody else, it would not have happened. It's like the least talented star. People can say that about me too, and I'd be like, thank God. Like at least I'm a star, you know. And that's why we're not saying names or.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to put it. The least talented.
Least
versus,
talented
like
star.
zero talent.
In
Like
a
you just
town
plug
where there's
somebody
so
off the
much
street
talent.
and just throw them in there.
Hey, we've had some people that sing in the studio, and we're just like, we have to like look down. Look, no, there's two versions of it. One is if I look down and keep my head down because I'm just like, oh man, I feel bad for them. Two is if I look down and you know, like in church when someone starts laughing and you can't stop,
You look down.
and you can't, and you're like,
Yes.
you don't want to.
It's such a cringeworthy moment. You have to look away from everybody or you're going to laugh.
But what's cool about our studio and kind of a bad thing too for artists is like it's stripped down. It's just you and your guitar most of the time.
Yeah,
Like,
there's no hiding. in
there's
that
no
format.
hiding
Yeah.
it. So we get to see the true of everyone that comes in.
Yeah, and we need to see it a couple times because sometimes you can just be sick or having a bad day and not sing your best. Because there are times where I do stuff and it's not my best.
I mean, we say that about, you know, people, or, I mean, it could be writers or artists where we ask our writer how it went, and they're like, that was pretty bad. But they're like, it could have just been a bad day.
Yeah,
Could have been.
Need
Yeah.
multiple instances.
Mhm.
I like your answer. You're a nice guy.
You are a nice guy.
You're a nice guy. No, you are like literally.
I mean,
Because I thought of like 20 immediately.
So zero talent versus
No, we didn't say
the
zero.
least amount of
No,
talent.
no,
I would
that's not
say-
Yes,
zero.
I
like
would-
that is true.
I
I,
would
don't think
say
anybody would argue with that.
They are not, for other people in their category, they are not near,
Yes, I agree, 100%.
which is rare for this format because in pop music that happens all the time because they have different reasons to push people for marketability purposes.
Yeah,
But here, you need to be good first, and then they figure out how to market you.
I was talking about this with another music publisher in town a few weeks ago, and we were talking about, you know, what it takes to succeed, not only with a record deal, but a publishing deal. we wish talent was the only reason you were successful. It is not. You got to have the right people around you, the right timing, the right work ethic, the right personality. All these other things have to go into it. Some of the most talented people lose their record deals or lose their publishing deals, and they're never famous and nobody knows who they are.
Yeah.
So,
And the timing thing, again, that's such a big part of it because there are people who are freaking awesome, but they're like sonically, their style is not perfect for what is commercially viable. What's cool is when it catches up.
yes.
I think we saw that a little bit with Haley Witters, who was doing her own thing for years, and it was never going to work because she was just,
Yeah.
And then it kind of came around to her, and then gave her a real opportunity, to at least have an opportunity.
There's a lot of examples like that in country where they just could not have picked, not to their own fault, they just couldn't have picked a worse time to, debut, whether it be a radio or just in general. I can think of acts like Greg Bates. I think Greg Bates is great. He decided to have his debut single right when Florida Georgia Line did, and like radio completely shifted from that point. And sometimes it's not your own fault; it's just timing.
Yeah, that's when I sell out though.
I don't even know who that is.
Greg Bates. Oh, he now goes by the name Machine Gun Kelly.
Yeah, there you go.
Who is not country, by the way. I mean, don't you think though, like, it takes so much to be an artist? Like, there are all these elements to being an artist where, like, sometimes your likability, your personality,
every part of it
can
There's
overweigh.
there's so much that goes into it that most people don't realize.
But you still, in this format, you can have all of that, but if you're not good, you still don't make it 99.9% of the time.
Yes.
Like, you have to be good here.
At some point, you are going to stumble.
Yes.
Like, whether it's now or whether it's down the road, at some point you will stumble if you don't have the talent.
You have to be good here. Except if there's one person I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
And there's two other ones that I'm like, yeah.
Right.
But there's just one I'm just like,
It's pretty amazing.
yeah, it's like
pretty
wow, we
amazing.
should like celebrate it because
It really is.
yeah, it's like they've managed to escape Alcatraz. And then you wonder, you're like, how?
Yeah.
Did they use a boat?
Like,
Did
we
they
thought you
use a-
died. We thought you
yeah.
were eaten
yeah,
by sharks.
Like, were you even in jail?
This
ever?
makeshift raft that you built and
Yes.
you made it across the bay.
Okay, Chris, you back up?
Yeah, I believe I
ahead.
am. So this is actually a topic I was discussing 2 days ago with a writer. Me and him, this guy is in his 30s. I'm in my 30s. We both grew up at a time where you would go to Walmart and buy an album on a Tuesday, and you would read the pamphlet and listen, front to back to the whole album. Maybe you go to iTunes and, you have $20 available on the card, and you have to make sure you pick the right songs because you're spending your money or you're using your mom's card or something to pick the right songs to download, and you would listen over and over again. Now with streaming, it has become so easy to access any kind of music. Has it maybe kind of devalued listening to music? And maybe that's affecting who succeeds in music, who doesn't, because you can listen to anything anytime you want to. So music isn't, not to say it's not as special anymore, but it's just different. And now we're so far into streaming, there's people that growing up with streaming, they don't know how it was back then, and maybe they don't value records and music and artists like maybe you and I did.
It's funny because, like, I have 4 kids, and one of them loves to listen to old music, stuff I grew up with, because I play it all the time in the car, and he's just like, that's a jam, Dad, I love it. And he's got his own playlist, and he listens to Def Leppard, Van Halen, Pearl Jam, but he's done with it after a week. That song's off the playlist. He listened to it 1,000 times, it's off the playlist, which is almost like what you're saying, like the mind of a young music consumer that's like, all right, we're on to the next.
Yeah.
I consumed everything I could out of that song. Don't like it anymore. I'm good without hearing it ever again. Very interesting.
You listen to it so much when it first comes out that you just get burnt out on it on your own doing, and then maybe you have 10,000 songs on your iPhone.
Yeah.
You're not going to get to all of them. So after you listen to something so many times, you're probably not going to listen to it again for the most part. Maybe ever again, or at least not for a very long time. So,
And me, dude, I can listen to Power of Love for the rest of my life.
Huey, man.
Like for the rest of my life, I could hear it every
see,
day.
that song I do know. So
Huey.
there you go.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those, your strength is your weakness, your biggest strength is your biggest weakness. I don't think music is as precious anymore because we're not having to spend money on a tangible, even downloading a song. We could call that tangible because we now own it on our computer. It doesn't happen anymore. And we had to use our own money to do that. So I don't think music is as precious anymore individually. But I think that's the weak part of it.
And there's so much of it too.
I think the great part of it, though, is that you can really find specifically what you like. It extremely nuanced form. We'll call it a format of what you like. I think you could like the like say you like country music, which like man, it's like Sierra Farrell. Is that how you say her last name? Like you probably wouldn't find her because a label probably wouldn't have signed her because there were 8 labels. It's like TV channels, and there are only so many artists they're going to sign. And you're treating anything you bought precious, and you liked it because it was all that was offered. But maybe you don't find her because the label didn't invest money in signing her deal, developing her, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? So I think music isn't as precious individually, but I think the fact that it allows each person to find out and to find music that excites them on an intimate level, I think that is the real strength in having unlimited music. So the opposite, like 20 years ago, music is much more precious. And you find the stuff that you really like, but there's not as much of it. So maybe it's hard to find stuff that you like really personally like feel and understand. So yeah, I think your biggest strength is your biggest weakness, and your biggest weakness is your biggest strength in this case. And it's probably always going to be like that. But yeah, you're right. I think albums are done, right?
Yeah.
I understand why artists want to do them. You put out a bunch of songs. It's tradition. It would be the parallel I would put in my career is I will get offered to do a certain TV show, and the TV show is garbage or semi-garbage. And I go, man, but it's TV. And then my agent will go, bro, you get more eyes and ears on like 8 other things that you do more than doing this prestigious TV show. Like, so you can do it if it just makes you feel good. So go ahead, go do your TV show. Nobody's really gonna. Some people are gonna watch it. Some
it sounds
aren't.
cool to have a TV show.
Exactly. It sounds cool to put out an album.
It does. Yeah.
Because
You've made it if you put out an album.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you've made it if you got a TV show. But they're like, you have to like think about this differently now because eyes and ears are currency, right? You got them. You can turn it. You can make way more money and get way more people watching and listening by doing these. I'll remove the radio show from it, but doing these podcasts, doing this social content, doing this, than you would doing the TV show. And so to me, I compare albums and like how I would relate to it. And an artist want to put out an 11, 12 track album to be like, I'm releasing an album. To me going, I've got a TV show. When in reality, I would probably get way more traction doing a couple smaller things here that pop so much harder when releasing a single or 2 songs at once. Now, there are the outliers like the Morgans who put out 40 songs, which that was a crazy outlier. And now everybody does it because he did it and they saw like the success of just a big dump. But that's not even an album. That's like a quadruple album of... So
and only certain artists can do that kind of thing. You got to make sure that you have the consumer base where that would pay off and benefit you and the label to do something like that. So only Morgan and a select other few like Zach Bryan can actually do that, or at least in this format.
But I agree with your statement-ish and your question. I think music is far less precious, but I think it gives everybody an opportunity to find things that are specifically precious to them. We're not spending money on it, so it's like, who cares?
Yeah.
We can just... And if you put out an album, I'm going to listen to it. I'm not even going to listen to the whole thing. I'm going to listen to like 5 songs. And I'm going to be like, I like this one. I'll save this one. Maybe I save 2.
I can't imagine. I have a friend who's like 25 years old. I can't imagine him literally buying an album of 15 songs and listening to it start to finish. It will not happen, will never happen.
Are vinyls still a thing? Like, I know they're trying to.
Yeah.
Vinyls beat CDs for the first time ever, like 2 years ago.
Because it's cooler. It's the branding. It's like, what is this?
And there's
newer thing.
It's tangible in a land of non-tangible.
People collect it. Yeah. It's a collector's item for people, you know?
Pictures. That's the only place you get to see album art anymore.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the sleeve of the record. Yeah.
All right, Eddie, 30-second question. Our final question. It's a quick hitter. Go.
Well, real quick. What's your favorite music documentary?
Music documentary. That's a great one. Man, I love the Tom Petty one. It's one of my all-time favorites.
Running Out of Dream?
Yeah.
So good.
It's so good. All the stories that I had no idea how they made it that far without basically,
good but long.
It is
Very long,
It
yeah.
is long, but it was one of those where you watched and I didn't realize how long it was until I finished it. Like, wow, that took a long time.
Yes.
I remember I started watching it the day after my birthday, and then when I finished it was my birthday again. That's how long it was. Yeah, I was like, wow. Yeah, it was, but right, it was so long. Right? I'm thinking of the right one.
It is
Like,
long.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good. That's a good answer. So I guess my answer is going to be, because I don't know what best is, and I would sit here and argue with myself and change my mind 4 times. But the one that I think about when someone goes, "Hey, recommend me a music documentary," is the Janis Joplin one, because I felt so bad for her,
And you learned so much.
and I learned a bunch about her. Meaning, I felt bad for her because they just treated her so bad because she was have ugly.
Yes.
Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Her whole life,
Oh my
they treated her
God.
like she was ugly. I had no idea that her and Jerry Garcia were a thing.
It like that like hurt my heart for her. And then the fact that she never even got to see success because she died before Me and Bobby McGee came out.
Yeah.
Christopherson. She died before that. So I still think about that, and I feel so bad for her. So that one really touched me in a way that I wasn't expecting, because I was just like, let's go watch. Oh Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes? Let's go watch
So
that,
awesome.
that girl.
Yeah.
And then you watch it, and you're like, man, that is a
So
troubled life in person. And so not my favorite, but I think about it.
sad. Yeah.
Last quick, give me a quick one.
Oh man, quick. Well, I'm gonna do an audible here because I just thought of this
Okay.
as we were talking. I just think it's funny now that I've been living in Nashville for about 7 months now, and I've been coming here for a few years. Me growing up on 90s, 2000s country, me being kind of weird and knowing every single song that there is, every artist that both takes off and doesn't take off. And I don't know, there seems to be some kind of stigma, maybe in town or maybe just with the community, where like maybe some people don't want to talk about their failures in the music industry when it shouldn't be viewed that way. And it happens to so many people, and it's okay to talk about a song in a glowing way that did not hit the top 40 or something like that. Or it's almost like now I have to be careful. I don't want to, make anybody mad when I've referenced a song that I like that, died in the 50s, but I love it. But I still want people to know about this artist when it came out. I just feel like, have you ever come across any kind of artist that maybe don't like talking about their past because it wasn't successful, even though it might have been good and cool? They just don't like talking about it because they didn't, succeed.
I won't say her name. I had a conversation with somebody about 2 weeks ago. She called and she was like, "Hey, I'm off. I got dropped." I know her personally because I just don't have artist conversations with people. Meaning, not that I wouldn't, but it's just not my job, right? Like, I'm just supposed to be funny or whatever. And but she called. I've known her forever, decade. She just got dropped from my label, and she's asking like, "What do I do?" And I was like, "First, you got to stop thinking that anybody cares you got dropped from your label. Nobody cares.
We don't know the
Yeah.
difference.
Like nobody, like people don't even know what a label does.
Yeah.
Some people don't even have a label now for a good reason." She was like, "Yeah, but they were like, billboards. It said, hey, what? Name a billboard you saw last month." Is what I said. Just name any billboard you saw last month. I don't know. Yeah, and I said, and in the best way, because it can also seem like the worst way, nobody cares. Nobody cares. And yeah, that might sound sad. Oh, nobody cares about me. That's not what I'm saying. Everybody cares about themselves so much that they're not focusing on you or remembering any failure that you had.
No.
And if you want to talk about it, great. That's strength, and that's something for you to talk about. But if you don't, you can't be worried other people are thinking about you as that person.
Yeah, they're not at all.
At all. They're so hyper-focused on themselves, what they're trying to do, that they're not.
I think like going off of that, we're all self-conscious about what other people think.
Yes.
Because we're all self-conscious, we're actually just thinking about ourselves. And, when we hear your name as an artist, we're not thinking about what label you're on. Most people don't even know what label you were on, or that you
I don't know what
dropped.
label some
Yeah.
people are on, and this is like part of my job.
Most people that are Zach Bryan fans, the vast majority of them probably have zero idea he's even on a label.
Yeah. And that was the conversation I had with her. It was like, hey, you really shouldn't be afraid to talk about it. It actually gives you something to talk about. That people were like,
Yeah.
oh, because everyone thinks artists are, perfect millionaires. And as soon as you stop worrying about trying to impress people and you start thinking about relating to people, like that's where the success comes from. So we're just reminding her that it doesn't matter. Nobody cares. And there's real power in nobody caring. And she's awesome. She's the exact opposite of the other artist I was talking about, where she is so talented, she just has not had it go her way. But in every way, just pure as an artist. And yeah, what you're talking about there was that experience that I had with her where it was hopefully welcoming her to talk about the stuff that maybe she was embarrassed to talk about.
Yeah.
Because I said, don't be embarrassed, because don't take this the wrong way. I told her, nobody cares.
I bet to a lot of artists, though, the pinnacle feels like getting that deal.
It is. Yeah.
And once you get there, you're like, okay, we're going to start rolling now. And then you get dropped and you're like,
Oh, you don't have to get dropped. No, you can literally get signed and
not
then nothing happens.
And then nothing happens.
happens,
You just
sure.
sit
Yeah.
there
Sure.
collecting dust on
Yeah,
the roster.
even if
Yeah.
you don't get shelved, nothing happens. If you get a shelved, it's the worst. But even if you don't get shelved at times, well, what's that? Where's my? I'm not rich. Actually, I'm losing money. I'm doing a radio tour.
You're playing free
I'm
shows
doing-
everywhere.
absolutely.
And,
Yeah.
Yeah, gentlemen, there's a reason they call this the greatest moon
Crescent
crescent
table.
conversation ever.
If one of us were sitting over there, it'd be more of a round table, but
Yeah.
we're not. So
We should move the chairs
It'd be
around.
well, it'd be a triangle, actually. Chris, you're awesome, dude. I like
Chris,
this. I like the
Yeah,
format.
very cool.
I like the format. We should do this again in a couple months. Follow Chris. We said all your stuff in the beginning too, but doesn't Chris look so young and vibrant?
Yes.
It's like,
Very young.
vibrant's a great word. I'm going to use that from now on.
yeah, crazy.
Tremendous word.
It was like that. He was like, just came out of his mom's womb, coming here talking about music. I'm like, this guy's so young.
I do want to say, like, Chris, you're a good kid, man. You're a good
But he's
kid.
not even a
Yeah,
kid.
I know,
he's not a
Crazy.
kid.
I know.
No, please keep calling me. a
I
kid.
know.
Yeah.
At Chris Owen Country on Instagram. Chris, good to talk to you, buddy.
You too,
And,
Bobby.
and we'll talk to you soon. And the artist I'm talking about, the internet. I'm just kidding.
No.